Lesson 99, Pythagorean Theorem. Can everyone say Pythagorean? One more time. Pythagorean. Pythagorean. Okay, can you say theorem? Theorem. Oh, shoot. I should write this out. Let me take this M off because I always write theorem, capital THM. And so I forgot that. I'm not sure, but this might be the first time you've seen the word theorem. Maybe. Okay. The Pythagorean theorem can only be used with right triangles. Okay? So we're going to write down the Pythagorean theorem only applies to right triangles. Only right triangles. Again, I wrote capital THM. We can do that from now on, just because I'll forget to write it the other way. Okay, so when you're looking at a right triangle, let's draw one. These two sides that are perpendicular are called legs. Okay? And the side across from the right triangle, the one that's just straight across, is called the hypotenuse. Can you all say hypotenuse?
Hypotenuse.
Yes. The hypot is in use. Hypotenuse. Okay. The two legs are on either side of the right angle. Again, they're the perpendicular sides, but if you look at the right angle, see where the square is, the square itself touches those two sides, okay? And those are called the legs. And the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So if we draw a triangle, we're going to draw this ABC, where B is the right angle. We can look at this and say, okay, AC, segment AC is the hypotenuse. AB, segment AB, and segment BC are legs. The Pythagorean theorem says that if you square the length of the legs and add them together, so the sum of the square of the length of the legs, you will get the square of the hypotenuse. So we're going to write it down using the letters that you will see it in forever after. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And this is where A and B are the legs, and C is the hypotenuse. And it's the length of those, how long they are. So if we were to just draw our generic right triangle, this would be considered A, B, and C. It doesn't matter which leg is A and which leg is B. It doesn't matter because the two legs are just considered legs. So you square them and add them together. The order doesn't matter. The hypotenuse is always C. So we are going to do an example where we have to find a side length of a right triangle. So if 3, 4, x. Okay, so we need to find x. We can do this using the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 3 we'll just call a, 4 we'll call b, and x we'll call c. So we just plug it in. So we have 3 squared plus 4 squared is going to equal x squared. Then we add them together. 9 plus 16 equals x squared. 25 equals x squared. And then we take the square root of both. And x equals plus or minus 5. But you can't have a negative side length. So x is going to equal positive 5. And the reason why I said x is plus or minus 5 is because anytime you take the square root of two sides, you have to include the negative for your answer. So we included that, but we know it can't be negative, so we just do positive 5. There is one thing I want you to remember, that the hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right triangle. Oops. And then I want to do one more question that you might see. So you can actually tell if a triangle is a right triangle if the Pythagorean theorem works. Okay, so if you're asked a question like, here are the three sides of a triangle, is it a right triangle? You just plug them in the Pythagorean theorem, and if it works, then it is a right triangle. So let me do one more example where we're going to check to see if this is a right triangle. So the question is a triangle with sides 5, 12, and 13 a right triangle? And we want to know, does this make a right triangle? So the longest side would be our hypotenuse, and that's our c. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The longest side would be c. So does 5 squared plus 12 squared equal 13 squared? So we're trying to figure that out. So we have 25 plus 144, does that equal 169? So we add them together. Yes, 169 equals 169. So the answer is yes, it does make a right triangle. And that's the end of the lesson. We are going to do some practice.